K-Earth101.com. The 70s at 7 with Shotgun Tom Kelly.
KRTH
and KRTH HD.
Los Angeles.
Well, it's 7 o'clock, and welcome to another edition of the 70s at 7. It was the middle 70s, the year that the Apple computer came out. Steve Jobs did it up special. Right back where we started from was on the radio.
Oh, I love that. I love that. K-Earth 101. That's how I know you. Shotgun Tom Kelly. Of course, now you're doing 60s on 6 over on Sirius Radio.
Sirius XM, yeah.
Sirius XM Radio. But thank you for joining us today. Shotgun Tom Kelly, a radio legend on Deborah Kobylt Live. So thank you so much.
Oh, man, thank you.
I kind of grew up listening to that. Sort of grew up, not really, when we moved here.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that all the time. Shotgun Tom Kelly. And then what? We ran into each other at a radio convention.
That's
remember,
right.
Not long ago. And there was this booming voice coming out of the room. And it wasn't John. It was you.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. I got to talk to this guy. And then we finally made it happen. And here you are sitting on my show.
Well, you know, I've watched your show because my buddy Tim Conway Jr. was on your show. And I go, wow, man, how could I get on a show like that? I'm going to have to work on that. And then I saw you at that talk show convention.
You know, it's being at the right place at the right time in life,
That's right.
isn't it? And a couple months later, here we are together. I'm honored to have you here.
Man, I'm pleased to be here. I love it.
Also joining us in studio is Johnny K. I mean, he's like the guy in radio. I know you can't see him. He's just sort of in the background. So you're the longest running program director in LA history, or were, or still are. I'm not even sure. Coast, K-Big, K-Earth, KFI, The Wave, everything, right? And your mic's on, I think, too.
Yes.
Okay, great. If you start talking a lot, we're going to change the cameras and make this a two-shot.
Okay. All right.
You know, I'm just sort of rolling with this whole thing. And way in the background, we've got John Kobylt of the John and Ken Show. He's not even on a mic because he's about out the door to go do his own show. So thanks for joining us back there, John. So, okay, how this will go this next half hour, I have no idea. So everybody just sort of stay with me. But I find you to be one of the most interesting people on air. And you started in San Diego, Los Angeles, and now on Sirius.
Right.
This is a real dream come true, right? From that little kid who was looking at the guy doing his show down in San Diego through a glass window. Am I right?
Yeah, my mom was a big radio fan, and she was listening to Kogo Radio, which is still on today. It's iHeart
very
Radio.
popular down in San Diego.
And it's a talk show, but at that time it was a music station, and she was listening to Frank Thompson, who was doing a remote broadcast. And she said, Tommy, there's a man putting people on the radio. Why don't you go down and see if he can put you on the radio? So I went down, I had my nose, as you said, pressed through the window, and Frank says, well, this is Frank Thompson on KOGO. We have a young man at our mobile studio. Step in here, young man. What's your name? Well, my name is Tom. Well, what school do you go to, Tom? I go to St. John of the Cross Catholic School. Well, Tom, here's 4 tickets to see the LA T-Birds when they come to San Diego.
Aww.
And he was trying to give away some tickets, you know, which I loved. I thought I won $1 million, but I sat there and watched him with the 2 turntables and the microphone, and
You were hooked.
I was hooked. I went home and I built my own little radio station in my bedroom, and I was off to the Mardi Gras.
Wow. And who did you have on your show then?
I just had me.
That is so fitting.
I've always been into me.
Yeah, you have a very small ego, Shotgun. I love this.
Hey, I'm just trying to fit in, though, man.
You're just trying. Aren't
Baby.
we all just
no,
trying
I shouldn't
to fit
say
in?
any of that.
So, okay, so you started also in radio.
Yeah.
When you got your first gig, you were in high school, am I right?
Yes.
Right after high school, something like
Well,
that.
I started hanging out at radio stations.
Yeah.
First of all, I was a groupie of Frank's, and I'd follow him around at all his remotes. And then I met this, I went into KDEO, Radio KDO, which is another rock and roll station. And Frank was on a middle-of-the-road station, but I wanted to get into a rock station.
Yeah, you want to be in the cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went in there and hanging around with the jocks. One of the jocks just happened to be the PD, Jim Price, Sonny Jim Price. And he was going to add a record. And he said, you're 13 years old. I need a teenager's opinion on this record that I'm going to add. And if
What was the record? Do you
If I add, I'm going to get to that.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah. Anyway,
sorry.
so he brought me in, and I listened to the record, and I wanted to be real nice to Mr. Price. And he said, well, what do you think of that record? I said, I really like it. You know, and I really did. And the record was the Mamas and the Papas in California Dreamin'.
Wow.
And he hired me as an intern.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's...
Oh, that's exciting. Wow, what a time.
Yeah.
So then you really, the early days of your career was down in San Diego. You
Yeah.
jumped around a lot because you were always getting offered work. You also did television, which I found sort
Later
of
on,
amusing. Right? You were a clown?
That was when I was paying my dues. First of all, I had to go to a radio school to get a first-class FCC license.
Yeah, people don't know this.
No,
Back
they
in the
don't.
day, you had to get an FCC license to
Yeah.
be on the air, right?
Yeah.
I'm
well,
pretty
you
sure
had to
you
be
don't.
an engineer and an announcer.
Wow.
And so once you have this FCC first-class license, and Johnny K went to the same school, once you had this license, they called it a ticket. You had a job in an AM station.
Wow.
A directional AM station. So my first job was in Merced, KYOS in Merced, and then I went to KACY in Ventura, and then I went over to Caffey in Bakersfield. That's where I got my first television job. They wanted somebody to be a clown and on a cartoon show on just Saturday mornings. I did afternoons on Caffey in Bakersfield, and then on Saturday mornings I was Nemo the Clown on Prize Party.
You know, it's always something like that. My husband, when he started out in his career, he worked at a place called Goofy Golf.
Yeah.
You know, and he wasn't dressed as a clown, but he might as well have been. You know, he was handing out stuff to all the little kids. It's like these guys in radio, the way you jump around and have to pay your dues. You're a
Sure,
clown
exactly.
one day, you're a DJ in the morning the next, and next thing you know, you get the call. It's like being an actor. You know, you're the background person, and all of a sudden you get that shot.
Yes.
But, you know, you stick with it, right? But you stick with it because you love it. You
You
couldn't do anything else.
You do. And of course, I always wanted to be a boss jock. You know, I wanted to go to that big market, which was San Diego. I wanted to return to San Diego.
Right.
And KGB was the boss radio station in San Diego. I wanted to get my picture on the Boss 30, you know. And I got my wish because Charlie Van Dyke heard me in Bakersfield at Caffey. And he said, you know, I think your tape is a little bit too good. I think it may have been edited. I'm going to fly into Bakersfield when you least expect it and listen to you live on Caffey. So he did. Couldn't get a plane. He had to
Were you
drive
like
down.
a nervous wreck, just
I
wondering
didn't know.
when
He
the
said-
day would be?
Charlie said for the next 2 weeks, you better be doing some good shows.
Wow.
Because I want to hear to see if you sound like that tape.
So then what happened?
Well,
So
then
clearly he flew out there or drove there, whatever, and he,
Yeah.
and he heard you.
And he heard me. And we went out to dinner, and he said, Shotgun, how bad do you want to come to KGB? And I said, Charlie, more than anything in this world. He said, welcome to KGB.
Wow.
So 2 weeks later, I gave him a notice. 2 weeks later, I came into San Diego, my hometown, and he had my stationery ready, my business cards.
Wow.
And he said, you're to report to the photographer to get your picture on the Boss 30.
Wow, we got to back it up a little bit. You said that he said in the meeting, "Shotgun, welcome." When were you called Shotgun? Because
Oh.
you were born Thomas Irwin, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's back it up. And
Okay.
where'd you get that name from?
Do you want the truth or a lie?
I don't like when people lie. I want the truth. Unless
the-
it's too long, then you can.
But the lie is a soundbite. and you told me, being a journalist, you have to talk in sound
I do. I am so trained in sound bites. I look at my watch. It's as long
Yes.
if it's longer than 30 seconds, I'm
Right.
like, we're done. I'm cutting you off.
So-
Go ahead. We have a little more time. It's a podcast. Give me
Okay.
a,
All right.
something in the middle.
All right. Well, so anyway, when I got to KACY in Ventura,
Yeah.
Oxnard, I walked in there, and the guy, I wanted to use Tom Irwin, my real name, and he said, "Hi, Bobby, how are you?" I said, "No, my name's Tom."
You hired the wrong guy. What do you mean?
No, he said, "If you're going to work here, you're going to be Bobby McAllister." And I said, "Oh man, I need this gig," you know. And this is a station that Bob Eubanks had worked at, Robert W. Morgan, so it was kind of a stepping stone station.
Oh,
into the
yeah.
big time.
Robert.
And so anyway, I was Bobby McAllister, and then Dave Conley. I was driving to work one day, and Dave Conley says, "Hey, coming up next, it's Bobby Shotgun McAllister." And I go, "Wow, that dresses that goofy name up." So I
Yeah.
became Bobby Shotgun McAllister at KACY. And then Dave got a job. He got a chance to be the PD at Caffey in Bakersfield. He said, "Want to go with me? Use your real name." I said, "I'm with you." So I went over there, and the general manager said, "I don't like the last name Irwin. I'm Jewish, sounds Jewish.
God forbid.
I got nothing against it, but what nationality are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Irish." He goes, "Irish, huh? How about Kelly?" And Dave said, "Yeah, you can use Tom, and we'll revive the shotgun from Bobby Shotgun McAllister, and we'll call you Shotgun Tom Kelly." You see?
Very nice. But, you know, that stuff would never fly today. You know
No,
that. I mean,
so the lie. Oh, the lie.
go ahead. Give it to me.
Now let's follow up the lie. When I was at KGTV, I did the kid show, Words of Poppin', and then occasionally I would set in doing weather.
Trying to follow this. That was after you were a clown.
Oh, way
After the clown
Oh,
gig.
yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm in big time television.
Okay, big time TV, Words of Poppin'. That was a big deal.
Syndicated.
Big
yeah,
deal.
it was a syndicated television show all around the country.
Okay.
It was a game show, very, very high class game show. But anyway, I was in the station, so they had me do weather occasionally when the weatherman would be on vacation.
Did you love doing the weather?
No.
No.
I didn't like it.
Oh.
I don't know. I
Really?
just didn't like it.
Wow, you could just improvise. And I did weather once in I don't know where I was working. I don't even Manchester, New Hampshire. Half the time it didn't work and I'd make it up. I'd be like up in Bangor because what's it going to do? It's not going to be, like the Caribbean. So I would just pick a number. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, and occasionally I'd point to the wrong state. So anyway,
Guilty.
The anchor guy, Mitch Duncan, he said, well, we have Shotgun Tom Kelly setting in doing weather while Mike Ambrose is on vacation. And how'd you get the name Shotgun? Now, listen, I got 2 minutes, Deborah. 2 minutes to do the weather. It cut me off. So I didn't have time to tell that long story. So I said, well, Mitch, I never liked to ride in the back seat. I always liked to ride in the front seat next to my dad. And of course, that position is shotgun. Now we have a high pressure area here coming. And so I got right into my forecast.
There you go. I love it. Yeah. See, you could do it all. You can talk for a long time. You can do the quick intros like you did over at K-Earth and like you're doing now, right? You're doing 60s on 6.
I have a little more freedom now.
You have a little more freedom.
See, Johnny K would, he kind of wouldn't give me as much freedom as I wanted.
Johnny, tell me, I know we don't have you on camera, but you'll be
Not
our little
true.
wah-wah. But we've got you on mic. So
Yes.
you said that you were hired. Where was he? What station was he on? And where
K-Earth.
you were hired to get rid of him?
Yeah, that was.
Now, do we have to go into that?
Well, you said it.
Go ahead. Yeah,
you
you
said
did.
it.
All
I
right.
don't know what to say.
Yeah,
so you were hired to.
They wanted to change K-Earth overall.
Yeah.
Not just his position, but all the positions.
Yeah.
And they said, so who you going to put into afternoons? And I gave them a name, but I said, but this person's not ready. And as I listened to the radio station, I realized Shotgun was just misplaced. They had moved him to evenings. He's an afternoon guy.
Yeah, no, he's such a big, booming personality. I mean, like I said, he walks in the room, and for me, it gets smaller and smaller. So, but it's
nice.
no, and I mean that with the greatest of compliments. So go ahead.
Oh, so it never happened. Luckily, I had been at K-Earth for 7 years and went through 7 managers. So all I had to do was wait the manager, and that eventually changed, and the whole matter went away.
Wow.
And when we put Shotgun back in, the ratings went back up.
Oh,
Well,
How about
that's what
that?
you're known for.
What do you
aren't
think of that,
I mean,
Deborah?
yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. So you were there for 20 years, right?
yeah,
K-Earth?
20 years. Yeah. Mhm.
K-Earth.
Long
That was
time.
your, and you, I don't like to use the word replaced, but one of your idols
Oh,
was
the
on.
real Don Steele, man.
Right? Since you were a kid, you really have always looked
Love
up
the
to
real
him.
Don Steele. When I was a kid, I used to listen to him on the radio, and I used to listen to Wolfman Jack too. Those are my 2 favorite. The
I
real
asked
Don
you
Steele.
about that. If you
Yes.
had met Wolfman
I
Jack,
did.
if you met Casey Kasem, I know you know his
Yes,
daughter.
worked with Casey Kasem.
You did, yeah. So let's get into that too. And his daughter Carrie is lovely. She's doing incredible work.
She is.
For people who are not being treated properly
Right.
by family, for elderly.
But she's a talk show host herself.
She is also a talk show host. She's a wonderful woman. So he was one of your big idols, right?
The real Don Steele, yeah. And by the way, he's featured in the movie, the Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so is Robert W. Morgan, and so is Humble Harv, and so is 93 KHJ.
That's
You know,
unbelievable.
when Brad Pitt got in that car and he tuned in the radio, it was 93 KHJ and the real Don Steele. I'm the real Don Steele. He cruises down Sunset Boulevard, and I just chills went down my spine. I never wanted to come to L.A. I always wanted to be in San Diego.
Well,
And I
you
got
really just loved it there. You grew up there.
I
It was,
did.
It was
Well, I had-
home, and a
I
lot
had-
of people want to get to the big market, New York and L.A. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I had a audio video presentation there. I did Words of Poppin', which is the big show, kid show that I did, a game show. And then for 12 years, I did the cartoon show over after I left KGTV and went over to KUSI, and I was host of the KUSI Kids Club for 12 years. And so I had a identity in that market. So anyway, when the real Don Steele died, they had a memorial after the memorial. Mike Phillips said a prayer, and he said, "Please help me find the right guy
Wow.
to succeed the real Don Steele." And he called me. I mean, and in his prayer, my name came in. How about that?
Is that what he told you?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Was that a God thing or not? So anyway, he called me. I came in, and he said, "We've selected you." And then the general manager, Pat Dove, he said, "Well, what's going to make you happy?" I said, "What do you mean, what's going to make me happy? How much money do you want?" Yeah. Nobody's ever done that. It's when I go to a radio, say, "Here's what we got. That's what you got to do."
Really. Here's what we got. Here's what you're getting. So the fact that they did that, More power to you. I
Yes.
hope you said, this is what it's going to
Well,
take.
I went to my attorney and I asked him, I said, they just said, what's going to make me happy? It's only a 3-hour shift. What do I say? Well, here's what you do. You ask, how do we get to this amount? I said, that's a lot of money, man. They're going to throw me out of there. No, just don't demand it. How do we get to this amount? I'm actually imitating him. So anyway, I went in, how do we get to this amount? And he
How
goes,
do we get to this amount? Like
no
that?
problem. No problem. In fact, I could have asked for more.
Yeah, see?
know.
But you didn't want to be selfish.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't want to.
But I mean, first of all, I was scared to death, Deborah. Deborah, I'm setting in for my idol, the real Don Steele. I mean, and he was very popular here in Los Angeles and all over the country.
I remember him.
Yeah, everybody does. And I became friends with his widow, and in fact, his widow provided those air checks that were used in the Quentin Tarantino
For the film, yeah. And you even called her and you said, did you get paid?
I wanted to know if she got paid.
And she did.
And she got paid.
Quentin's a good guy.
Yes,
he would do
he
that.
is.
He wouldn't rob her of anything.
No.
He's a real good guy.
Yeah.
Great filmmaker, amazing person.
Well, it's a great movie. I highly suggest everybody see it. You know. Anyway,
So you spent your time here 20 years, and you had to move up here, though, working.
I
over
did.
here.
I moved. I over at Park La Brea, and I was had a beautiful apartment there, and I got to actually. The station at first was at Venice and Fairfax. Then we moved over to the Paramount lot.
Isn't that where KBC was for a while as well? That Venice and Fairfax area,
No, that's
sort of, kind of.
that's La Cienega.
Oh, La
Yeah.
Cienega.
No,
A lot of them were down there.
We
yeah.
were right at the corner of Venice and Fairfax when I first came in. And then they moved to the old KHJ site, which is in the Quentin Tarantino movie, which is right in front of the Paramount lot, you know. And so we moved there for 2 years. And then we moved to where they are now, which is where KNX and the Wave is at the corner of Hauser and Wilshire. And I got to walk to work. I lived at Park La Brea. I got to walk to work. Didn't have to get in my car and
In
tackle
LA,
those freeways.
that's everything.
It
I mean, that
really
alone
is.
was worth the extra money that you
Yes.
didn't ask for,
Yeah.
honest to God.
Right.
So, who are some of the amazing people that you've interviewed or worked with up here in Los Angeles and even down there? But because we mentioned Wolfgang.
Well, no, Wolfman Jack.
Wolf-
First
Wolf-
of all, Wolf and I.
Wolfgang. Oh my God! Look at me. I'm tongue tied. Wolf somebody.
Wolfman
yeah, that guy.
Jack.
Not the
he
chef.
was in American Graffiti, by the way. And again, I used to listen to him as a kid. I was a fan, and I ordered this album of him singing songs, and I still have it today.
Wait, I gotta say, how crazy is this? All these people that you loved and emulated as a kid,
Yeah.
you're sitting there working side by side with
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
What did that feel like? Were you like this? I gotta pinch myself? I never
Well,
thought.
yeah, as a matter of fact, to become friends with him, you know, it was really amazing. So anyway, I bought this album as a kid, and I cherished it. And so then when I got to meet him, we really hit it off, you know, because when he was on the air over Del Rio, Texas, on XERF, now send your money order, cash check or money order for the Wolfman Jack album on the Bread Record label for $3.95 check or money order. Anyway, I'm a terrible imitator. But anyway, I got that album. So
Wow.
he appears on talk shows, right?
Yeah.
And so I know the producers of these talk shows. I said, hey, why don't you play a little of this for bump music, you know, to set up the 10-second delay. So anyway, and what I didn't realize, nobody likes to hear themselves when they first begin.
You probably did.
I don't like to hear myself.
No, you don't?
So this is when Wolfman Jack first began his career, singing these songs on this album, and he thought it was terrible. So Roger Hitchcock shows, so I'm out there listening, and I'm pulling the trick on him. I know they played a little cut, and Roger Hitchcock comes on and says, hey, we have a very special guest, Wolfman Jack's on the show. Wolfman, welcome to the show. And he goes, oh, man, don't play that, man. That's terrible. Oh, don't ever play that again. Where'd you get that? Wait a minute, I know where you got that. I'm going to kill him. So anyway, he came out I worked at KCBQ at the time. He came out. He said, what'd you do that for, man? That's not funny.
Was he really pissed?
Oh, he was just joking around.
Sort of joking pissed.
But kind of, you know.
Yeah, not thrilled that you did. Yeah, but whatever. So
But
it came and went.
We were friends, and so, you know, friends can pull tricks on one another and be forgiven instantly, you know. don't you think?
Without a doubt, but especially when it's innocent like that.
Yeah.
When
Now, Casey Kasem and I worked the MDA telethon together for about 15 years.
the Jerry Lewis telethon.
The Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon. Every
Wow.
Labor Day, I was doing it with Casey.
I met John doing the telethon.
Did you?
Down in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
It's
Was he one of the hosts?
We both were. We
yeah,
were co-hosting.
Well,
So,
news anchors like yourself,
right.
would
And-
be on those telethons.
Right, it was my first job out of school. It was a tiny little NBC station, and John was at an even smaller radio station. You talk about money. I think he was
Yeah.
making $11,000 a year, and I was making the big money. I was making $17,000 a year as a weekend anchor, and so I was making the big bucks.
There you
And
go.
they paired us up together on the telethon, and he was so nervous. And right before the little red light came on, I gave him a little nudge, and it was like this, and then the rest is history.
Did he have to read the teleprompter?
He did, but I'm not one to like to read teleprompters. I'll just go off teleprompter because I know what the material is, and then so he couldn't really follow where I was going.
No.
It was good training for him.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my little telethon.
Well, I got involved with the telethon because I did that kid show,
That's right.
Words of
Words of
Poppin'.
Popping.
And MDA came over, and we want you to be the carnival chairman. And I said, absolutely. And by the way, I won 2 Emmy Awards for that show.
You won 2 for that show.
Words of Poppin', yeah. Mhm.
Tell everybody what that is for people who aren't familiar. That was a phenomenal show. Words
Okay,
of
it was a
Popping.
game show for kids. We
It was very smart.
it's and yeah, if you look at it on
Yeah, it
YouTube,
was.
you can check it out. We had 3 games. We had Mix a Word, we had Build a Word, and we had Find a Word. And
You want to give me one? See if I could do it.
Well, if you watch the show, I would give a clue. Okay, now these are birds, and the mixed up letters would come on, and they'd buzz in on their buzzer, and
Oh, and you had to
okay,
do
what's the name of that bird? Eagle. All right, we go on to the next one. And and the show was very fast paced. Now, the reason the show was a big success, television. You being in television for a long time, they wanted educational programming for children, not just cartoon stuff, because of Sesame Street. So my show gave them the FCC requirement of an educational show. It was on every Saturday on WRTV, KMGH TV, WRTV in Indianapolis, KMGH TV.
So you were syndicated with it.
Yeah, and a couple other stations.
It's interesting. Do stations still do that? I mean, I know you need to have a certain amount of public service announcements still on regular, broadcast stations.
Yeah.
But do they still have the same kind of requirements? Do you guys know
I don't
as they
know.
did then? Because they were very strict about it.
Well, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they wanted quality shows, and this was a quality show. A lot of money went into the show. We would fly the parents and the children from other markets into San Diego to do the show. Now we did it on Saturday, and we did 5 shows, even though it was on once a week. We did 3 shows in the morning, all with different audiences, and we break for lunch and then do 2 shows in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what an esteemed career. I mean, from the little kid with his nose up the
Yeah.
window to San Diego, Merced, Bakersfield, San Diego again,
Yeah.
up to Los Angeles, now satellite. It's really incredible. So you also tell us about meeting Ronald Reagan and
yes.
being invited to the White House.
Well,
Would you-
my congressman, Duncan Hunter, Sr., he said he wanted me to be the MC when the president came to town. I did that.
Wow.
And he said, hey, I got a great idea. Why don't you give the president one of your hats? I said, okay. So he arranged
How many of
it.
those do you have?
I have 5.
You have 5?
Yes. So anyway, I had one specially made at the Stetson Hat Company for Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
So anyway, he arranged it. We're in the West Wing, outside the Oval Office, and the White House staff guy comes over and says, Duncan, shotgun, the president is ready to see you. So we walk in the Oval Office, that thick door, that seamless door. Walk in, Mr. Reagan is behind the Resolute, that's the desk. He walks over to the shell bookcase, and now he's been briefed. He knows my name. Well, Shotgun, I understand that you were the MC and kept the people entertained while they were waiting for me in San Diego. I said, yes, Mr. President, I did, and I bring you my trademark Ranger hat. I hope you'll put it on. He goes, well,
Look at that photo
There
we've
it is.
got. That is really, boy, that is precious. And
That
between
really
that
is.
and your star, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Okay.
Wow, that is one of the all-time. Come on, to
You know,
have a
being-
president of the United States not only know your name and
Yeah.
your particulars.
Well, he was
but
brief.
Of course, but But then to wear the hat that you had made for him, that's a beautiful moment.
It is. Even
really. Politics aside, no matter what you think, that's the President of the United States. Wow.
My congressman said, out of all my constituents that I've marched into the Oval Office, that is the most distinctive picture.
It's a beautiful. He looks happy with his little hat on.
They have it at the Reagan Museum. They don't have it displayed. They have it there though.
Yeah, I've been down to the archives down there in the Reagan Museum. I'll tell you, that's where so much of the good stuff is.
Oh, it really
the
is.
Peter Max paintings that he was presented, and so much. It was that's one of the fantastic museums. There, in fact, right now I think they're having something with Leonardo da Vinci.
I met him again, again doing a rally. And Michael Reagan, his son, is a friend of mine.
Yeah, we know Michael well. In fact, he's a friend of the show. He comes on quite a bit.
Talk show host. So they give you blanks. The first picture that I got was a stamp of his signature. And I said, Michael, I have a blank. You're going to go see your dad in Santa Barbara. He says, yeah, shotgun I am. Would you have him sign it?
Wow.
So that signature is actually his signature. And thank you, Michael Reagan, for doing that for me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Wow, what incredible. Okay, let's move on to your entire list of very high-profile people that you've had the pleasure to meet and talk to and interview. You briefly met Elton John.
I did. I interviewed him out in front of Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard. I was a little afraid to do that because he's a little touchy, and couldn't have been nicer. It was wonderful.
Yeah, well, you're not an intimidating guy. I think, people know that you're such a legend. I don't know if you really were then at the time, but I'm pretty sure you were.
I was at K-Earth at the time.
Yeah, if you're at the K-Earth, of course. And, I know what you mean about Elton John. He is a little intimidating, isn't he? I mean, if I've never met him.
I thought he was, but after I met him, no. But a guy, K-Earth was having a party, and it was at Herb Alpert's Vibrato over here in Beverly Hills.
Wait. I'm going there tonight.
Are you? Well, there you go.
My friend Jolie Fisher is performing.
Well,
she wrote a book, Growing Up Fisher. I had her here last week in your chair.
Right.
And she's performing tonight, everybody, at Vibrato.
Oh, Vibrato. Great club.
Oh, isn't it the best?
I love it.
Eden's amazing. I mean, the whole family, they're incredible people.
I met Herb Alpert there, too.
Oh, my God. What a small world, right?
It really is. So anyway, I'm coming down from the K-Earth party, and I see Clint Eastwood sitting, and I'm going, should I go over and talk to him? I better leave him alone. So I went over and talked to him.
You probably knew who you were.
Well, Mr. Eastwood, I'm Shotgun Tom Kelly. He says, I know who you are.
See?
He said, this is Tom Dreesen, Frank Sinatra's comic. And he said, I know who you are, too. So I started talking about not movies. He loves jazz music, and I love jazz music. I started talking about jazz music and one of his favorite disc jockeys in jazz, Chuck Niles. Oh. And I was doing my imitation of Chuck. Chuck had a great voice and a great vocabulary. And often I said, remember how Chuck had that sophisticated hip delivery? My choreography is not at all laudable, but however, I shall try to ameliorate. Can you dig it, man? And he loved that.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, no. And he's, I love Chuck. And of course, I use my hands. And I usually left this out of the story, but my friend Tony Pepper said, you got to put this in the story. I used my hands when I was doing, and I dumped over Clint Eastwood's water on his table. And he goes, whoa, I'm not gonna ride shotgun with you. Anyway, that was the end of it.
Well, at least it was water. It wasn't, beer, which would stink, or wine, which would stain.
It wasn't much water.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of water.
Anyway, that was a great time, too. Yeah.
So do you study radio people? Because I know you're a huge fan of Johnny Carson. In fact, I think we have a clip of when you were in the audience, right, with Johnny Carson.
I'm the man of Odessa. You want to see that clip now?
I do, so hang on. I think Kurt's queuing it up for us. We got it? Okay, listen carefully, because you can hear Shotgun in the background.
Oh,
go ahead.
Another hot crowd.
Yeah.
Boy,
A little bit of bassy. What was the name of that?
We actually don't know.
Just one of those bassy
We
charts?
refer to it as Basie because it was recorded by Count Basie and his orchestra, but if anybody out there knows the name of that song, we wish they'd tell us.
You better believe it, baby. Is that the name of it?
Well,
It is now.
you better believe it,
I
baby.
just heard that guy, and you better name it.
I would think so. Let's not get him steam.
Okay.
What a great clip. I
yeah.
love that so much. I have gone to the Johnny, was it Johnny or was it, oh my God, I don't even remember who it was.
Jay Leno?
It was Leno, because
yeah,
Johnny
went to both
was
of them.
not around by then. But I've been there, and it's sort of so much fun when you're
It
out
is.
there in the audience.
But the man of audacity, how dare I interrupt a network television show with my signature, you better believe it, baby.
Okay, what did they say? Did anybody come to you to try and
there
clobber
was
you
two
or what?
NBC pages coming to throw me out. Because Freddie DeCorvette at the time said, if Johnny's funny, yes, he loves hearing laughter, but do not yell out to Mr. Carson.
Well, they said, if anybody knows, what are you supposed to do?
Well, that's that was my window. See, I know, being in television, I know there's a window of silence.
Can't leave them hanging.
And so that's when I said, you better believe it, baby. And then they created a bit out of it, and then the NBC pages backed off.
It was very, very funny moment when I saw that. I couldn't believe. I played it over and over and over because there's that booming voice.
Everybody
Did anybody
likes it.
come to sort of meet you afterwards?
No,
or
no.
No?
But
See,
it is. I'm kind of a cult individual. For
Okay, from what I understand,
Yeah, this is-
don't you have a studio somewhere,
that. Oh
basement
yes,
in the
I
house?
have hobbies.
No, I'm not talking the trains here. I'm
No,
talking
I
the
know.
studio with Carson.
Before the trains, it
Mm-hmm.
was I built a Tonight Show set in my garage because I wanted to have my friends over on video. But there's nothing more boring than videotaping your friends, without a format.
Right.
And so the Tonight Show has a format. I have the multicolored curtains for the monologue.
Oh my God, you
And
went
I
all
have
out.
the backdrop, the desk, the chair, and the couch.
Oh, would you have me in to interview me someday in your
Well,
little
I
studio?
don't do them anymore. I don't do them anymore, but I did 26 of them.
Wow.
And I conned one of the directors at the television station to bring the truck out. We did 2-camera shoot, and and we did one with Sheriff John Duffy, who was the sheriff of San Diego at that time. And
So they'd all kind of come out to your garage and you interview.
it was Duffy was very funny, and I said, John, why don't you come out to my garage and do a Tonight Show and bring the chief of police, Bill Collin, they're their friends, and I'll be Ed McMahon, and we'll do a show. And he
Wow.
did. And that's on YouTube, the Sheriff John Duffy Show, and he was very funny, by the way.
Oh, I'm going to look that up too. Do we happen to have that? Do you know if we have?
I
I know
did
we
s-
have a still shot
Yeah,
of.
I
but
think I sent it to you, but
we have so much material. I mean,
I
I sort
know.
of filtered through everything, and I thought, well, I'd rather hear you more
Sure.
than some of your clips. So I just wanted to get the really big ones in. So I mean, let me see. Who else is some of the great ones as I was going through your information? Stevie.
Oh, Stevie Wonder. Oh, that's a great story.
Please.
When
Oh.
Stevie would come into the radio station, and I'd elbow my way in, and so anyway, I kind of had this dream of maybe someday getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So as I got to know Stevie a little bit, the second year, the third year, I said, Stevie, if ever I got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, would you be my speaker? Oh yeah, I'll do that for you.
And then
So-
how much later did you get that beautiful star? And I got this.
It was
We have a.
about 17 years later.
Oh. So what'd you do? Pick up the phone and go, Stevie, you remember when we had
Well,
that talk?
as soon as I asked him, his publicist outside the studio said, he says yes to everybody. He's not going to do that. So anyway, 17 years later, when I needed to find somebody to be one of my speakers, besides Johnny Kay, who told a very embarrassing story about me.
I'm going to have to get that in a minute.
Yeah. So anyway, I asked Stevie if he would be my speaker, and through his publicist and everything. And so he called me one night at home.
Stevie Wonder?
Yes. He said,
These things
said-
don't happen in my house.
he said, I'll be glad to do it. I'll be glad to do it.
Wow.
I wanted to say your publicist said you wouldn't do it, but I didn't I didn't go there. I said, Stevie, I'm so grateful. You're not on tour, and you're gonna do it for me. He said, yeah, and he was there, and you can see that on YouTube also.
Wow.
And
We have a shot of that too. How beautiful.
He shared, and at the end he says, "Hey, should we do a Stevie Wonder song?" I said, "Yeah." I said, well, let's do this one. La 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 la. Shotgun Tom Kelly, we listening on the radio.
Wow.
And that was it. Oh, it was great. Wasn't it,
Wow.
Johnny?
Yes. It was.
Beautiful. That to me, meeting the president, screaming in the middle of Johnny Carson's show, and then the star on the Walk of Fame. Now, you have a book, too, that you've made about yourself.
As a matter of fact, Alan Brent Cannell, who's a television director here in town, he was there. And he made that book for me.
He made this book? I thought maybe you did it yourself.
No,
I'm always making these books at home for my kids, through Shutterfly.
No,
and I thought maybe, okay.
No, this is an iBook, and...
oh, wow.
And
he's got all sorts of stuff in this. So who made this for you?
Alan Brent Cannell.
Yeah.
And there's my wife, and there's Stevie.
She's a beauty. Beautiful.
And I think...
Us radio wives. It's not easy.
Look at Johnny K, man.
Where?
Oh, look, what a good looking
Let's
man.
see. He is a good looking
He's
guy.
so sweet.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a nice photo of
Now,
you.
Johnny,
Johnny
why
K.
did you? Now, you were up there as one of my speakers along with Stevie, and you told a story so well. Would you like to tell that again? I'm not trying to run your show or anything.
Nobody's running my show. That's fine. We're here to just banter. Go ahead.
But go ahead, Johnny. Tell that story you told at my start.
Remember, little video clips here. So
Shotgun was, a major air talent at KCBQ in San Diego, and they were going to have the world premiere of a new song by John Lennon.
Oh.
And so in those days, they brought the record to the radio station, and the record was transferred to a cassette or a cartridge tape. And that's what they played in the control room. And on the label, they had written Imagine, John Lennon. So all of San Diego's television stations have shown up for this world premiere event, and they're crowded into the control room, and Shotgun's sitting there, and he's on camera, he's ready for his close-up, and he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, KCBQ is proud to present the world premiere of the brand new song from John Lennon, Imagine."
Oh, no! Oh, no! I wasn't expecting that.
Nobody was.
Oh, no. Oh.
Well,
Did you run in? I mean, what do you...
The program director ran in and wanted to strangle him.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I went to Catholic school, and the nuns always said, "Now, Thomas, sound out the words. Imagine." So, I thought I was doing the right thing.
I did that too. Once in my career, I did something even more embarrassing. I mistook Pacino for De Niro, and this was at the big place over at CNN. Thank God it didn't go out yet on the feed, and I'm thinking, what am I thinking? I'm a good Italian girl. I know the difference between my Italian actors, but we all do something completely ridiculous like that, right? Once in a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, wow. Oh, wow. That's something. The hat.
Yes.
When did you first get that?
Well,
hat? Are you bald under there? Like, why are you always wearing the hat?
My parents.
Oh, he is? Oh, Johnny's.
Johnny, keep your thoughts to yourself.
Oh, we want to know.
Okay. My parents always used to go camping. Mm-hmm. And we'd go camping, and I always loved the Forest Rangers and Smokey the Bear. So I love this hat. This is a Smokey the Bear type hat, Forest Ranger hat. So I when I was at KCBQ, I went ahead and adopted the hat.
Do you always wear them? Dinner parties, no matter what? Do you always show up in your little signature hat?
It has developed into a signature deal with me, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's very handsome on you, I have to say.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you without it.
Well,
Have you, Johnny?
It's done me well.
Mm-hmm.
It's done me well.
What advice do you give for kids, people, anybody trying to get into the business now? Because do you still need to move around from market to market? Can you go somewhere and work your way up? I mean, it used to be that you would just rip the wire and read something off the wire. It was a very different time when you came up.
Yeah. Well, it was a time when, you had radio stations that were live.
Yeah.
Little small radio stations like in Merced and in El Paso and in Ventura that we were live. Mm-hmm. And stations now are not live anymore. They have syndicated programming. So if you're somebody who wants to get interested in radio, where is there a small radio station that you can practice your craft?
Podcasting.
There you go.
There's such an explosion of podcasts, no matter what. I mean, if you have toenail fungus, you can find a podcast for that.
Yeah.
There is a podcast for everything. It is different than the days of radio where it's music and it's talent and it is different. But if you have something to say, I suppose people are getting into podcasting because you're right. Because so many of the small stations are now run by the big guys.
Yeah.
And it's just all programmed, right? I mean, Johnny knows this better than anybody.
Well, there's no place for a young person to go except maybe a college radio station or something like that. And in fact, that's how iHeart gets most of their people, and all some of the other radio stations. They see somebody working behind the scenes, and if they're good enough, they put them on the air. So I think maybe that's now the way a young person gets into this business.
And no matter what, no ego. You've just got to do what they tell you.
Yes.
You just do.
Exactly.
Within reason. But
Yeah.
more women, too. Even when you were coming up, there weren't a lot of females, right? Female DJs. I mean, we mentioned a couple on the air. Who do we? Allison Steele.
Oh, yeah.
Back in New
York
York.
City.
Who else was out here? There weren't a lot.
Liz Kiley.
Liz Kiley.
Yeah, I guess
There weren't.
No,
And so
you're
a lot
right.
has changed for women too, which is great because I know as a little kid, I'd listen to all these big booming voices and I'd say, where are the girls? So for me, I'm glad that's something that's changed. Even anchoring, there weren't tons and tons of women anchoring. Now it's sort of a more even playing field.
Well,
if you've
I
got
think
the
it's
talent.
changed. Yeah, you see more women on television doing weather and anchoring.
So it's only women doing weather. The shorter the skirt,
I know.
you've got the job.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
The cosmetics.
I think so.
You know.
But the days of a guy like you, the big voice with the big presence who walks in the room and turns on the mic, there's not a lot of you guys really anymore, I don't think. Johnny?
No, there aren't. And you know what his unique ability is, and the reason we put him back on K-Earth in Afternoon Drive, we were playing oldies, and he had played some of these records probably 16,000 times, literally. But when he rolled a Beach Boys song and did the introduction to it, it sounded like he was doing the world premiere of the song. He was so excited to share the
Beautiful.
music.
For the first time.
And that's what's missing from radio today. Radio no longer introduces young people to new music.
You're absolutely right. Half the time I have no idea what I'm listening to, and absolutely no idea whatsoever. Did you read off a script? Do you read off a script, or do you just sort of say what you want to say?
No, I say it. Well, now on Sirius XM, I have no script. I just fly. What are you laughing about? Oh, was that you? Oh, I thought he was laughing at me.
No. There was his chair was creaking.
Oh, I saw. Sounds like his laughter. Anyway, no. I'm able to play the song and tell a little story about it. I'm not going to turn it into a talk show, but 60s on 6 Sirius XM gives me that opportunity. Now, when I was working for Johnny at K-Earth, it was much more compressed. K-Earth 101, a trip for two to Hawaii coming up next. For that.
Oh.
So.
Were you one of those PDs who would run into the room if somebody was like 10 seconds over? Because I know John, meaning my husband's on the radio, everybody knows that, John Kobylt, the John and Ken show. He's been out here for so long, right? Still top rated. It's crazy to me. But we came here young and now we're getting old here. So were you one of those guys who would run in and go, hey, you went over? Because back in the day, everything was so scripted down to the second. Or no, did you give your guys a lot of freedom?
I thought if there was a chance that they were going to repeat it again next hour, make the same mistake, it needs to be corrected now.
That's different, though.
If it can wait until tomorrow or after the show, then I'll talk to him after the show.
Well, now Johnny used to hotline me, but he,
You'd be looking at, there's a little red light. You're like,
well,
oh,
no,
no.
Johnny. First of all, the music was king with him, and he knew the ends of songs, when to come in at the end. And if I would come in too soon, Johnny would hotline me and say, "Hey, man, you're cutting off my favorite song. You came in too soon. Am I right?"
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm not exaggerating.
Every song is someone's favorite song.
But you know what? He was very kind. I must admit that Johnny K was very kind when he hotlined you. He was very nice about it, and he pointed out the mistake, and I respected him, and I didn't want to do that again.
Well, here's one thing. If there's any kind of guide, when I told John that you were going to be there today, he goes, "Oh, he's the nicest guy." He does not say that very often. So he goes, "Oh, he's a real good guy." So
He is.
that's what he thinks of you. So there you go. And look at you. You're speechless.
I took to John the first day he came to KFI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why he liked me so much because we were in opposite ends of the building. But
I don't ever think he looked at anybody as competition. John really appreciates talent. He really does. And if somebody is right opposite him, he'll just figure out a way to do better. But he doesn't. He's not an envious kind of guy, or he just wants everybody to do well, and that's how he
God,
is.
your
yeah.
husband sure is great on the air, though. I learned so much about politics and city, the way city works. and I hear the truth.
And how to do a talk show.
Yeah, I mean, he
great.
likes to fight for the little guy. I mean, there's so much that's happening in Los Angeles in particular. People need help. Stuff is really, it's a disaster. I can't walk down my own block without, I got to be honest, I saw someone, it was not a very pleasant sight this morning. And LA is a mess. And he gets out there and he talks about it like it is. Whether you agree with him or not, it doesn't matter. But he's one of the only guys out there doing it. Back to you.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
mention one thing about Johnny K
Yeah.
that he would never mention himself? So I'm going to mention it. You talk about people getting in, wanting to get into radio, wanting to apply for a job.
Yeah.
People would send him an application to come and work for him. And he would go out of his way to make sure that he answered each and every one of them.
That's everything. I can't tell you how many times I never got that.
Yeah, personal reply, not a forum letter.
Yeah, no, that
It
is
was a personal reply.
wonderful.
Got to say that about you, Johnny.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
that's really fantastic. And you're still working. What are you doing now?
Video production overall.
Yeah, that's
Television
fantastic.
commercials.
And
Oh,
you,
he did a great production. Now, see, my other hobby, since I'm not doing Tonight shows anymore.
we only have a few minutes. So
I know.
just letting you know.
Is my trains. He shot a video of my train layout, which is 10 feet by
cool.
by 7 feet, and built by Lloyd and Betsy of Paramount, California.
Oh,
and
wow.
Just a beautiful. And he used green screen. He has all this professional equipment, green screen, all that stuff.
Right, so you just bring the little green screen with you. The
Oh,
little
yeah, he
pop-up.
brought a lot.
I have a
And-
couple of those at our
Now,
house.
Johnny's a taskmaster. We started filming one night at my layout at about 4 in the afternoon, and we shot all night long until 5:30 in the morning. At 3 in the morning, I'm going, "Hey, Johnny, do you think we ought to wrap it up?" "No, I have 2 more scenes to do." So he cracks the whip.
Wow.
But anyway,
So-
the video turned out stupendous, and it's on YouTube. Shotgun Tom's HO train layout. It's worth viewing.
Please look it up. Shotgun Tom's Trains. Okay.
Yeah.
So getting back very quickly, we only have a few minutes.
I know you do.
Currently on
Sirius XM 60s on 6 from 4 in the afternoon to 9 o'clock Pacific and 7 to midnight Eastern.
What is left that you haven't done that you want to do in this business?
Wow.
I'm not talking climbing the Himalayas or anything, but what would you love to do in this business?
I've really...
I mean, you made it on my show, so probably
That's
not much.
right. That's
Probably
my
not much-
bucket list, baby. You better believe it, baby. Sock it to me. Let me see.
Wait, there you are with Vin Scully. Oh my God, we could go on forever. Who else is in that other? There's Vin. Who's over there on the right?
Oh, that's Sylvester Stallone, man.
Oh, I couldn't even
I mean,
recognize.
baby. No. Can't,
Now you're beating Johnny K.
Well, because he tells me you don't call a woman man.
Why? I don't mind at all.
I know, but he likes to be proper.
Okay, so that's Sylvester because I can't see the lights are so bright.
Okay, that's a friend of mine who owns a train place down in San Diego. And he's about ready to close it down. It's an old town. It's fantastic. You got to look at it. And of course, he's got me on the layout. That's not what you want to look at it for, but I'm on there. Anyway,
Vin, the ultimate
oh,
in broadcasting.
man,
We got to meet him many times. We went into his booth about a year before he retired, and we took my son, who's a terrific ball player. Actually, he's playing baseball.
is this the son that likes me? One of your sons was a fan of mine.
My older one.
Yeah, you're
my
older.
older one. The younger one who's just about to go to the
Because I
University
met
of
him at the
Washington.
pageant of the Masters with you guys.
Oh, that was the older one.
Yeah.
That was the older.
Hey,
although
man, I'm glad you're out there, man.
Yeah, no, he loves you. He almost came today. He works
I
in
would have
production.
loved to seen him. Go ahead.
Yeah, but oh my God, what was I even saying? I don't even remember. Where was I? I was someplace.
You were going to wrap it up or what?
I'm gonna just wrap it up.
What would you like to do?
Oh,
what
yeah.
haven't you achieved?
What would I like to achieve?
Yeah, now that you've been on my show, what else? You're on satellite. You've done,
me see.
big time in LA. You've got the star. You met the president or one of the presidents. The
Yeah.
star is a big deal to me.
Yeah. I just really want to continue to do a great job on Sirius XM. I want to be able to relate to the people who listen to my show. I get lots of email. I read them on the air. That's another thing I couldn't do on K-Earth. I couldn't read an email on the air. I can read emails from my listeners on my show. And when they send me an email, I always kind of tell them when I'm going to read it. And some of them
Right, so they can tune in.
They can record it on their iPhone.
Yeah.
And keep it for a keepsake. And I love that. On my show, my listeners are the most important things to me, and they've become friends. You know?
That is true. People I have in the studio truly have become my friends.
Yeah, isn't
we
that
go
great?
out, we stay in touch all the time. So that's wonderful that you do that.
Well,
so
and of course, you and John have always been my friends.
absolutely. Oh, thank you.
You know, you really have. Because I wanted to be on this deal when I saw Tim Conway Jr. I said, man,
Do
how
we
do I
not
do
love
that?
Tim?
Oh, he's the greatest.
He was well, as you know, he sat in the chair and he turned the tables on me, and he started interviewing me, and I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
it
wait a
was
minute,
funny.
dude, this is about you, and he just wanted to know about John. How do we meet? What do I do? Blah, 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 all about my life. So
Well, you know, I'm the president of the Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters, and we were honoring weatherman Fritz Coleman, who was just fantastic.
great guy. All these people are wonderful.
Yeah, they really are. And so Tim Conway Jr. was so funny on the dais. He was just fantastic. And you know,
Good man, too.
when I was honored at the Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters, I needed somebody to be on the dais, and I asked him, and he was on there. And he dropped everything to come and do that for me.
Of course,
so
but
thank you,
that's-
Tim. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the friendship. And I love listening to him at night. He is the #1 nighttime talk show host.
He's
now,
hysterical.
now, John and Ken, Afternoon Drive, they are the #1.
Yeah, they're the ones you want to put on as you're driving home like this. Like, when is this going to stop? You know, and then once you're home and you can relax a little with a drink in your hand, you can hear the jokes from Tim
You know,
Conway.
you've got
yeah.
your husband and his partner. They do it right because when they break, they tease what's going to be coming up next, and it makes me want to stay through those 8 commercials that I have to listen to.
15 commercials. Teeth. You need new eyes, teeth, whatever else. You know, I get the phone call. Do you want some, sliding on the house? I'm like, no, I don't want anything else.
Cunning Dental. Cunning Dental is one.
Oh my God, he's the kindest man.
Is he really?
Oh, you've never met him?
No, but Tim Conway said he's just wonderful. Tim
One
Conway
of the
Jr.,
kindest.
that is.
I wish we could continue because
Yeah.
you've led such an esteemed life, and I'm honored that you came here today with Johnny K. And just thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to say? Plug your show, whatever you want to do. We have a big following on YouTube.
I know. I've been talking about being on Deborah Kobylt Live on my show, and I will continue talking about it because if they don't get the live, then I'm going to say, well, why don't you tune in? Because it'll always be there, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
it
so I'm
will.
going to have my listeners on Sirius XM 60s on 6 tune in, and then they can watch this. How
Thank
about
you so
that?
much. Wonderful. And it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Oh,
and
man.
Johnny K, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry we have to go. I wish I could have given him a full hour. I really do. But thank you again. And thank you for tuning in to Deborah Kobylt Live. You can find us on Facebook Live, on YouTube. We put all our promos out on Instagram. We're also on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts. I don't know, we're Spreaker, just about anywhere else that you get your podcast. You can watch us. You can listen. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and thank you so much. Shotgun.
All right, Deborah.
Tom
Ladies
Kelly.
and gentlemen, you've been listening to Deborah Kobylt Live.
Bye-bye.